But
Looks like the, yeah, yeah.
I guess not the traffic.
Well, I know, I'm waiting because at some point with the new public dogs, these people all the way across the bay are going to catch on. We're going to get, at some point we have to notify them that there's going to be some change. Because when noise carries, they're going to be in for a little while. Oh, really? Just a nice. I'll cue you if you forget something. I'm always forgetting things.
Maybe tell me I heard it.
Don't let him make you nervous. I can do it. Oh, good. We can take our picture. Lily, you want to take our picture right now? Oh. We'll reconvene a regular meeting of the April 10th, 2012, Newport Beach City Council. Roll call.
The record will reflect that all council members are present.
Closed session report.
Yes, in regards to closed session item 2A, there are two reportable items. First, the City Council, by unanimous vote, authorized the city manager to negotiate with the Orange County Transportation Authority and, if negotiations are successful, enter into an agreement to toll the statute of limitations for the filing of a lawsuit against the OCTA related to the OCTA's decision to eliminate the 19th Street Bridge from the master plan of arterial highways, so that the city and OCTA can try to resolve disputes between the parties without the need for litigation. The second item that the City Council took action on this evening is that while the city is hopeful that there may be a chance to work with the OCTA regarding the decision to delete the 19th Street Bridge without litigation, the City Council did authorize the City Attorney's Office to initiate litigation against the OCTA prior to the city being barred from bringing a lawsuit based on the applicable statute of limitations. And the vote on that matter was Mayor Gardner, Council members Hinn, Hill, Selich, and Rosansky voted in favor of the litigation, and Mayor Pro Tem Curry and Councilmember Daigle voted against initiating litigation.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Rosansky, and remain standing by the invocation of Reverend Peter Haynes from St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church.
Please join me in the pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oops. I just said that.
We would invite you into prayer. Wondrous God, fountain of life and source of goodness, you have made all that is and given us all that we have. We are grateful and thank you for the people of this beautiful place and for able, responsible leaders in the mutual regard which forms our civic life. Give us, we pray, your spirit of peace, justice, wisdom, charity, humor, and grace, that we may find with one another the fulfillment of our humanity here in this lovely city. For you are gracious, great lover of souls, and to you we give glory and honor, now and forever.
Thank you. We have several presentations this evening. The first is to celebrate is the Fair Housing Month proclamation. We have Maria Benitez here, the outreach coordinator for the Fair Housing Foundation. If you'd like to come forward, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas one of the greatest freedoms enjoyed by Americans is the freedom to live in a home of one's own choice. And whereas this promise made to us by the nation's fair housing law, which requires that all people be treated equally in connection with the sale or rental of housing, regardless of race, color, national origin, sex, gender identity, disability, sexual orientation, marital status, age, familial status, or religion. And whereas this year marks the 44th anniversary of the Federal Fair Housing Act, the original legislation targeting the elimination of housing discrimination in America. And whereas since the adoption of the fair housing legislation in April 1968, April has been designated Fair Housing Month. Each year, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Fair Housing Foundation organizes events and activities during this month to focus attention on the issue of equal opportunity of housing. And whereas April is Fair Housing Month throughout the nation, we are asking each resident of the city of Newport Beach to support efforts to put into practice the principles of freedom, justice, and equality upon which this great nation was founded. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Gardner, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, hereby proclaim April 2012 as Fair Housing Month in Newport Beach.
Great.
Would you like to say something?
Sure. Is this on? I don't know if the residents and the city knows, but this is our first year. Fair Housing Foundation is in the city of Newport Beach. And the Fair Housing Foundation will continue to protect and educate both residents and property owners of the city of Newport Beach. And with that, I would like to announce that tomorrow here at the City Hall Fire Room, we're going to be hosting a landlord rights workshop from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And in the efforts to continue the education of the city, we also are going to be having a management training Wednesday, May 16th, here in the City Council chambers. And a tenant rights workshop will be hosted on June 4th, also of this year. So on behalf of Fair Housing Foundation, we would like to thank the mayor, the city, and the rest of the council members for presenting this proclamation to us. Thank you.
Our next presentation, this is National Library Week, and somebody is here representing the Library Foundation.
Tim Henderson from the Newport Beach Public Library.
All
Here
right.
for Cynthia.
Well, our proclamation says, whereas libraries play a vital role in supporting the quality of life in Newport Beach, and whereas libraries are changing and dynamic places providing free access for all to books, computers, digital entertainment, and information resources they need to learn, work, and enjoy life in the 21st century, and whereas libraries are places for opportunity providing programs that promote literacy, cultural enrichment, and lifelong learning, and whereas libraries bring you a world of knowledge and entertainment both in person and online, and whereas libraries are a place that in times of economic hardship Americans can turn to and depend upon for free programs and services that level the playing field for job seekers, students, and families, and whereas libraries and library supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week, and therefore I do hereby proclaim the week of April 8th to 14th, 2012 as National Library Week at your library, and encourage all residents to take advantage of the wonderful library resources available in our community and the special programs planned for National Library Week at the library. And I know all of us, I think, are reading to the kids at different library branches. This is one of my fun times of the year when we do this. You have something to say?
Mayor and Council, it is a pleasure to be here tonight to acknowledge the tremendous support that we receive from the community, the city leadership, and our support groups of Friends of the Library and the Foundation. We're so proud to be the community's foremost source for information, viewpoints, resources, and programs, and for the excellent job the city does in promoting us. And I'd like to thank you very much on behalf of the library.
Oh, keep going, right. I have one more when you're done.
Oh, all right. We have Eddie Marquez, the Regional Manager of Edison of Public Affairs, and Eddie, I'll let you explain it.
Madam Mayor, good evening, esteemed council. Eddie Marquez, Southern California Edison. It gives me great honor to be here today to highlight a very positive partnership that Edison has with the city of Newport Beach. We have something called the Orange County Cities Energy Partnership. This was established to provide additional funds to partnership cities when the cities invest in energy efficiency projects. This is designed to provide technical and financial assistance to help local governments lead their communities to increase energy efficiency, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, protect air quality, and ensure that your communities are more livable and sustainable. You're all energy champions. I was here a little under a year ago, and you all voted on participation in the Orange County Cities Energy Partnership. So what I want to do is I want to do two things today. I want to present a plaque to the city of Newport Beach for being an energy leader, and I also want to present a check. Don't cash it all in one place. This is a check in the amount of $7,917. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, but it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. In this case, and this is one of your items on the agenda tonight, you replaced 155 high-energy use streetlight fixtures with new energy-efficient LED units. That's going to save you $3,500 a year. You're getting this rebate of $7,900, and you also saved 98,968 kilowatt hours. So collectively, that's a big deal. And the higher your energy efficiency retrofits, the higher your incentives. So as you continue with the energy partnership, you'll be getting more money back in the form of incentives and rebates.
Well, I think that makes a good point, that going green can be very financially responsible as well.
It absolutely can. And you're already recognized as an energy leader. So again, I'd like to present the plaque and the check this evening. So this is yours, and then I'll take the check, and then I'll send you the bill. Madam Mayor and Newport Council, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
And Dave, you had something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I wanted to introduce to you Assistant Police Chief Dave McGill, and I'll ask Dave to come up and say hello and tell us a little bit about himself. Dave started, I think now, this is his second week, and we're glad to have him here.
Madam Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to address you. This is day 8, so I haven't touched the ground in 8 days. In fact, I brought my wife here just so I could see her. That's Mrs. McGill, Kim McGill. Boy, what an honor and privilege to work for you. I was, as of a week ago, a city resident and been here most of my life, and truly an honor to work here in Newport Beach, and I'm so blessed. And Chief and I have got so many good plans for this department and this city that, I pinch myself every morning coming to work, and it truly is an honor. And, I come from a little department up north in Los Angeles, and I bring with me not just my experience, but, plenty of colleagues and friends from up and down the state and across the country that can come and help make this department just a little bit better, and that's what my mission is. And I'm just very honored to be here, and I appreciate your kind having me here today.
Well, welcome, and we look forward to your plans.
Thank you, ma'am.
Notice to the public?
Notice to the public. The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. Council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for City Council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Councilman Hill?
Just one very brief report, Madam Mayor. This Thursday evening at 6:30 at the library in the Friends of the Library Room will be the 31st graduating class of the Citizens Police Academy. at which time there will be approximately 30 citizens and one slightly used council person that will be graduating in a very exciting and very fun program, and everyone is welcome.
Councilman Rosansky?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
We're a little over a month away from the 2012 Relay for Life, which will be held again this year, as every year, at Newport Harbor High School on May 19th, May 18th and 19th. So I encourage, I guess 19th and 20th to be precise. So I encourage everybody to get ready for that. The Council Critters team will be once again in the field, as will be many teams representing the city of Newport Beach. This is where the entire community of Newport Beach comes together to fight cancer and support the American Cancer Society.
Thank you. Councilwoman Daigle?
Yes, we have a very active recreation and senior services department here in Newport Beach, and they asked me to share with you some of the highlights of the upcoming programming. On April 16th, there will be Spring Fling, and the Orange County High School of the Arts will perform in a silent auction gala. And the event will begin with a wine and cheese reception before the performance begins. And tickets are on sale for $5 at the Oasis front office. Speaking of Oasis, they're going to have a casino night. That's going to be taking place. Is it at Oasis this year? I know it's been at Newport Coast. It is Oasis. Okay. That's going to be taking place April 21st. Summer registration has begun, and there are many programs being offered here at the City of Newport Beach. We have our 2012 Guide to Summer Camps, and there's really a number of themes with our summer camps. There's the paddle camp, there's the soccer camp, there's the green screen filming, there's the Jedi Master Engineering, there's the photography camp, the Princess Dance Camp, the Junior Hip Hop Dance Camp, the Digital Media Camp, and the Video Game Design Camp. So if you have, or your children or grandchildren have an interest in any of those camps, they're all available. And then also the Frankie Anderson Youth Track Meeting, Friday, April 20th at CDM High School, ages 7 to 14. All this information is available on our city's website, and again, you should have one of these in your mailbox for all our programming. So thank you.
Councilman Henn?
I have several things. On March the 30th, I attended an all-day seminar put on by the Concordia Center for Public Policy that is led by Mayor Pro Tem Curry. It was an all-day workshop led by Bob Bain, who is a nationally renowned expert on government performance. And I was very pleased to see that in addition to Mayor Pro Tem Curry, we had Dave Kiff, our city manager, our police chief, and several other police department officials, as well as other staffers at the meeting. And it was a very interesting and well worth it presentation on how to measure and improve performance these days in government. On March the 31st, I also had a great time down at the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, where I was invited to watch the Baldwin Cup, which is a sailing race that's organized by the Yacht Club. It's a race of 4 boats against 4 boats, so it's a team racing event done in very tight quarters using a Harbor 20, which is not a very fast boat, but which is a great equalizer, and therefore it's a great test of sailing skill. And there were teams from over 8 cities, over 100 competitors. So we scored a little TOT on that event as well. And it was only started 5 years ago by the Yacht Club, but it's already really, they've got a waiting list for that kind of event. And it's a great example of the kind of harbor vitality and spirit and excitement that I think the yacht clubs in general bring to our harbor. In addition, on April the 4th, I attended along with Councilmember Hill an event sponsored by Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, or right over here at our American Legion, having to do with our harbor homeland security work, multi-agency task forces that have come together to really try and detect and prevent organized crime in the form mainly of drug smuggling and even human trafficking. And that's sort of a threat to actually our harbor here in Newport Beach, as well as up and down the coast and our own coastline. So it was a very informative event. Thanks to Congressman Rohrabacher for sponsoring that. And then coming up, just a few things to note. The Neighborhood Revitalization Committee meeting that was originally scheduled for April 12th has been canceled, and it looks like we won't be meeting with that group again at least until May. With regard to our plans for this coming 4th of July, the July 4th committee, on which Council Member Rosansky and I sit, will be meeting with the police department and Dave Kiff and others in the city staff to go over our plans for this July 4th coming up. I'm anxious to do that. I think we had good success last year with the changes that we made in our July 4th planning, and I'm sure we're going to see another evolution, another step down the road toward making July 4th a much more family-friendly event on our peninsula. And then the Balboa Village Citizens Advisory Panel, the meeting scheduled for April the 17th has been canceled, but in place of that, we're going to be meeting twice in the month of May, the first of which will be an extra meeting scheduled for May 2nd at 4 p.m., and then another meeting on the 17th of May. And the Tidelands Management Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, April the 18th at Oasis at 4 p.m., and we've got a good agenda of interesting things, including updates on Lower Newport Bay dredging, possible dredging with Linda Isle, Seminole Slough, and an update on our Tidelands and Infrastructure Master Plan that our Citizens Advisory Panel has been working on. So important subject matter for that meeting. Lastly, the Newport Ensenada race is coming up, and the kickoff party is at noon. Between noon and 4 p.m. in Balboa Village, and we invite everybody to attend. There's going to be lots of fun things. And with that, I'm done.
Councilman Selich?
No announcements this evening.
I have a few. A Harbor Commission meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, April 11th at 6 o'clock. There'll be a presentation on ships to reef, similar to rigs to reef, where they take decommissioned ships and sink them. There's a proposal to do one off the coast of Newport to create more diving and possibilities and fishing possibilities. So if you're interested in that subject, tomorrow night. This Saturday, there are two events. Saturday, April 14th, from 10 to 2 is opening day at the Newport Sea Base, and everyone's welcome to that. And then from 1 to 6 at the Oasis Senior Center, the Newport Beach Art Exhibit and Sale will be taking place. Wednesday, April 18th at 5:30, the Corona Del Mar Residents Association annual meeting will be held at the Sherman Gardens. Saturday, April 21st, from 9 to 12, the Fire Department's annual pancake breakfast at the Santa Ana Heights Fire Station. And finally, if you haven't gone to mywaterpledge.com yet, be sure and do that. It only takes like 15 seconds. You check them off, you can win prizes, and Newport can be number one in terms of water conservation and bragging rights in the county. So, mywaterpledge.com. Okay. Consent calendar.
Consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendars, items 1 through 15, are considered to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss a consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor and state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
Councilwoman Daigle?
None.
Councilman Henn?
None for me.
Councilman Selich?
No items.
Councilman Hill?
No items.
Councilman Zansky?
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
No items?
I have none. Staff? Does anyone in the public wish to remove anything from the consent calendar?
Yes, Mayor Gardner, my name is Jim Mosher. Before you vote on them, I would like to comment on items 4, 5, and 9.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move the adoption of the consent calendar, items 1 through 15, with the exception of items 4, 5, and 9.
Second.
Do any of these have to be read?
Yes. Items 3, 4, and 5 will be read at this time. It's,
Not 5, because we didn't vote on 5.
oh, okay, sorry. Items 3.
3.
Yeah. Item 3, ordinance number 2012-10. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving zoning code amendment number CA 2011-013 to change the zoning designation of properties located at 200 30th Street, PA number 2011-209. Motion carries to approve consent calendars, items 1 through 15, excluding items 4, 5, and 9.
Thank you. Mr. Mosher, number 4.
Mayor Gardner and members of the council, my name again is Jim Mosher. This is the second reading of proposed changes to our ordinance regarding the allowable heights for fences and walls in Newport Beach. In the short time I've been watching how my city government works, I've noticed many items that kind of bubble up through the various levels of approval each time with assurances that things are maybe not totally worked out, but it's going to be worked out at the next level. They rarely are, and this seems to be, to me, to be an example of one of those. As an example, here we were assured, I thought, that these changes in this ordinance, which I hadn't really read until this meeting, affected only how walls and fences would be regarded in certain low-lying areas of the city. But in reading it more carefully, I'd like to call your attention to handwritten page 12. Item D there appears to be the overall definition of how walls and fences are measured for height in the entire city, not just in the low-lying areas. I understand the zoning code is just a guidance, and people can ask for variances from this, but I think since fences between houses can be a controversial issue, it would seem that it's in our interest to have a basic guideline that is clear and understandable to everybody, so that we know what can be built without a variance. As near as I can make out from this red line version, the current standard is that a fence is measured, it said, from the lowest existing grade, and the city staff is asking for the words "the lowest" to be removed, which I would think has some significance when lots are at different levels, as seems to be illustrated in this diagram, yet they're also asking for this diagram to be removed. So I have to say I'm a little confused about all of this. And what I'd really like is to understand what the existing standard meant, how it was interpreted, what this business about lowest existing grade means, and how the new change is going to alter that, and why this diagram that seemed to be essential is no longer needed, explaining how when two lots are at a different level, how tall the fence can be. Councilman Hill mentioned something about this at the last meeting, about a 12-foot wall high fence next to his adjacent property, and it seemed to have something to do with the diagram, but the diagram is gone now. So I really would like some clarity on what the change is that we're making citywide, not just in these low-lying areas, if we are making a change. Thank you.
Does staff want to comment on that?
Maybe Brenda had some thoughts on that. Community Development Director, Assistant Director.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Brenda Wisniewski, Deputy Community Development Director. Just for clarification, the majority of the changes that were proposed with this are related to the low-lying areas to address some of the differential areas of the Balboa Island particularly. The section that Mr. Mosher indicates actually does apply to citywide. However, it's just language that provides clarification for staff and is consistent with how it has been applied. So in his point, it is provide for clarification to staff as well as public. It does not have a significant change to how the ordinance is interpreted.
So we're not having unintended consequences with this in terms of we think it's for the low-lying lands, and it's suddenly different heights for different sections of the city?
That is correct. The area that he's referring to is just purely for clarification for the purpose of interpreting the code.
All right, thank you.
Brenda, the typos that Mr. Mosier didn't mention but has in his handwritten document, were those things that need to be corrected, or you thought those were okay?
Yes, it would be appreciated if we could correct those in the ordinance, too. One is...
Okay. Changing the update for the zoning code year to 2011 from 2010, and then finished grade instead of finished grade, although I've heard people say both, so. Both of those?
That's
is that
correct,
right?
yeah, they'd be fine to make both those
Okay.
corrections. Thank
So
you.
if you make a motion, we'll include those.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item?
I'll move the action.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, please vote.
So just for clarification, that's as amended with the typographical error corrections.
Yes.
Mr. Motion, number 5. Oh,
Motion carries. Okay, now I have to read the actual ordinance title. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving Code Amendment Number CA 2012-001 regarding the height of fences, hedges, walls, and retaining walls, PA Number 2012-018.
okay.
Motion carries.
And now, number 5, Mr. Mosier.
Mayor Gardner and members of the council, my name again is Jim Mosier. This item is a resolution announcing your intention to hold a hearing 2 weeks from tonight to add the Newport Dunes Resort to what is called the Tourism Business Improvement District, or TBID, which is a collective sales effort run by Visit Newport Beach for the benefit of 6 currently of our largest hotels. I recommend doing that, against doing this. As I explained probably better in my written comments, I have nothing against the hotels privately working together to the extent that that's legal. But I don't think the city should be involved in this marketing effort. At least to me, the TBID seems a kind of perversion of a state law intended for the rehabilitation of underperforming business districts, but as implemented, has turned Visit Newport Beach, which we contract with not only for this, but also for the more general promotion of the city as a whole, into a kind of a sham nonprofit, which is acting as a commercial front end to these highly profitable businesses. 6, soon to be 7. It also seems to me that the TBID is an undesirable distraction for Visit Newport Beach. As an example of that, just this morning, Councilman Hinn and I were at a meeting of the Balboa Village Business Improvement District, which is really a business improvement district trying to rehabilitate an underperforming area, and the board voted there to pay a couple of $1,000s to insert a link to their website into a privately produced map and guidebook, which visitors to Newport Beach apparently find useful when they're visiting the peninsula. I found it sad and ironic that Visit Newport Beach, to which we pay millions of dollars to market Newport Beach as a visitor-friendly location, seems so distracted booking sales for these 6, soon-to-be 7 large hotels that it apparently produces nothing of similar utility to the business people on the peninsula. In short, I think we should be getting out of the TBID business, not expanding it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item?
I move the item.
I second it.
Please vote.
First, I will read the actual resolution. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving zoning code amendment number 2011. Let me see here. Sorry. Sorry about that. Thank you. adopt a resolution of intention to amend the Newport Beach T-bid and set the public hearing date for April 24th. Motion carries.
All right. And number 9, Mr. Mosier?
Mayor Gardner and members of the council, my name again is Jim Mosier, and my comment about this will be very brief. This item has to do with certain land purchase agreements that are being made in connection with widening Jamboree Boulevard north of MacArthur. And what caught my interest is that we are actually purchasing properties in the city of Irvine for a few $100,000 and then deeding those properties back to the city of Irvine to improve a street who's impacted by both of those cities. If I understood correctly in the study session, we heard that the city of Irvine is going to be paving that same section of street and sometime in the future, and we're going to be paying our share of that. What I was hoping for, the staff report says that this is being paid not out of the general fund, but out of Measure M money. But since this is a problem created by both cities and benefiting both cities, I was hoping for clarification that their Measure M money is also being used, or how we're sharing the burden of doing this. And then I also wanted to note, as sometimes happens, the CEQA environmental review is a little muddled here. The first paragraph says that this project will have no conceivable physical change to the environment, and then it's followed by saying that the project is justified by a previous mitigated negative declaration, which seems to contradict the first statement. I assume that whoever wrote this is saying that your vote tonight is not going to change the environment, but hopefully the widening project is going to do so and in a positive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any response about Irvine as far as any contribution of funds?
Steve Beta may remember.
Yes, Madam Mayor and council members. This project is actually funded through Measure M competitive turnback funding, or not turnback, but competitive funding. We were awarded this money through a competitive process with the support of the city of Irvine. So essentially they were co-applicants in this. Because the majority of the work occurs within the city of Newport Beach, we serve as the lead agency. So that's kind of the whole story there.
All right, thank you. Councilman Daigle?
Yes, if I may note, there was a period some years ago where the city of Irvine and the city of Newport Beach weren't working together quite as well as we are now, and there was impacts occurring that were left unaddressed. But today, I just drove over the Jamboree Bridge that both cities have played a key role in widening. We have before us now a widening for additional capacity. We're looking at I believe it's a left-hand turn pocket. So the cities are really working together well, and those are all key improvements to move not only people but to move goods as well for our economy. So I appreciate our staff's work coordinating with Irvine.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Have a motion?
Would move the item.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And now the time for public comments.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
My name is Kenny Jo Rizzo, and I'm here. I want to thank you for allowing us to come to the Tidelands Commission that we attended in about a month ago, and you let us talk about what you call the Seminole Slough. We call it an estuary because it's still very alive and a very good natural part of the environment that we think is worth saving. You gave us a presentation on why it did not look like it was going to be feasible for you to do anything with the part that you are responsible for maintaining. We are so thrilled that the Corps of Engineers is moving forward on their part, and we want to just urge you to keep looking for ways to take care of the part that we thought the city had been planning to take care of. We thought there was money that had been set aside for us, and you said now this money is gone, apparently.
Nothing.
I don't know how the city budgets their money. If it's not used one year, it goes someplace else. So we would like very much to see if we could reactivate your funds in that direction. I will point out the fact that we just got this $7,000 check might be nice to use because we don't have any lights at all. So no street lights.
And
So
the Crow Del Mar is the same way.
yeah, so we thought we could maybe take a little chunk of that. That would be nice. But anyway,
That
we'd
will-
like
that probably
you
won't get you anything in today's world as far as lights.
So anyway, we would like you to look at this carefully and see if you can figure out some way to do it. We don't have any hotels, so we won't bring any tourism, but it's just a lovely
We have the Newport
environment.
Channel Inn.
We do have
Mr. Ament would not be happy with you.
That's true, that's true. We do have hotel, but they're not part of this
Pie
little
Knot.
group. Probably don't get any extra benefit from that. But we would like you to keep looking at it and considering it, and we would like to invite you to come and see the Newport estuary, our little part of the world.
Thank you.
Actually, Kenny Jo, there's a meeting tomorrow at 1 a.m. that city staff.
1 p.m.
I'm sorry, 1 p.m. I like to get there early, you know. 1 p.m., it's not open to the public, but a staff meeting to discuss just that very thing. So we haven't forgotten Newport Shores. And the Holiday Inn Express as well.
Good evening, Madam Council and Madam Mayor and City Council, I'm sorry. My name's Bill Seitz, and I'm a resident of the city of Newport Beach and also in Newport Shores. And I would just like to thank the city and staff for their recent efforts to include the Tidelands Commission and the Seminole Slough Draining Project within their scope. And just wanted to say that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Madam Council members, my name is Kimberly Strife. I'm a resident of Newport Beach for about 6 years now. And I moved from New York City 6 years ago. I was a mid-level associate at a New York law firm working in M&A. And so for the first couple of years that I was here, I was literally in my condo at Villa Balboa. One time I didn't leave for 7 days. I was working on a lot of deals at that time. Since then, I've gotten more senior, and I've been able to get out of my house a little bit and get to know Newport Beach. My husband and I were looking for a place to buy. We literally went on our bicycles down the hill and over and looked at a few houses in Newport Shores. And we not only fell in love with the neighborhood, we had a sign. On that day, as we looked at the first house, which I think Kenny Jo was selling at the time, we found $1 on the street, and we said, this is divine intervention, this is providence, this is the place where we need to be. We bought in July of 2007 at the height of the market, but we knew we were in a very special place. And we decided that probably the $300,000 that we lost on our house is worth it to us because it's a magical place, that neighborhood. And it's really a gem of Newport Beach. We're on that. I always say to my friends in New York that we live on the wrong side of Newport Beach, if there can be a wrong side. And the fact is there is no wrong side of Newport Beach. And we actually do bring people to the hotels in Newport Shores. Every summer, my husband and I host beach days, one for family and one for friends. The family beach day involves about 30 people coming up from San Diego and down from Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, and the Friends Beach Day brings a lot of people in from Los Angeles. And everybody is amazed at the place where we live. So I just wanted to describe to you how I feel about the estuary that surrounds our neighborhood, because I see all the children in our neighborhood learning about the egrets and the herons, and we just had 2 Canadian geese move in recently. We've had a swan that comes back every year around Father's Day and stays for a few months and then comes back around Christmas time. And in the last couple of years has brought a friend. Years ago, there were 2 swans that came every year, and now the swan has apparently found a new mate, or the old mate came back, or who knows what happens in the lives of swans.
Counseling.
It is a very, very magical place, and I want you to know that my nanny was astounded because they went up to the Bolsa Chica Preserve recently, and my 3-year-old pointed to a bird and said, "That's a snowy egret." And she didn't know if he was right or not, but he was, because he's learned that growing up in our neighborhood. It's not just a magical place for our neighbors and our neighborhood. It's a magical place for all of the children that come to our pool for the junior lifeguards. And let me tell you, there are a heck of a lot of them, because finding a parking space at any time when they're in session is virtually impossible. So I just want to remind everybody of the gems that go from all the way down, near Laguna Beach, all the way up to the bridge at Huntington Beach. It really is a magical place. I'm aware now, I've got 2 very small children, but they're starting to actually not hurt one another in a way that I can actually get out and get involved a little bit more. So thank you for your attention to this.
Thank you. Any other public comment? You can both come forward.
This is a question kind of, and I know you don't give an
Might
answer.
give us your name?
Oh, Gina Leslie, sorry. Since we're not going to have the Citizens Advisory meeting for a while, I was just curious. I've inquired about what the meeting with Caltrans, what's happening with the Pacific Coast Highway, and my answer that I get is that you're working with them, and I don't know what working with means. Is what's happening, are we assuming liability, trying to assume liability for the landscaping, or are we working under the Caltrans severe restrictions, or what is happening with that? Does anybody know?
Want to comment on that? Staff?
Actually, when comments are done, I'd be happy to answer a
Okay.
number of questions that have come up
Okay.
here.
All right, we'll get you something then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next, please.
Chad Filner, 324 Hazel Drive. Chad Filner, 324 Hazel Drive. Fire. It's one of the most powerful things that we resonate to and have for ages. I grew up with the fire rings on Big Corona. Just recently, I walked by them on a night. Now, at Big Corona, perhaps 10% of the beach has the fire rings on them. As you move into twilight and night descends, basically the entire rest of the beach becomes vacant. I would estimate that this particular night there were 100 or so people huddled around the rings. The rest of the beach had perhaps half a dozen, and as darkness fell, I think even they departed. The cold wind that blows off the Pacific makes it very inhospitable without the fire rings. There's a feel that's magical, mysterious. It's somewhere that people come. They're with their friends, their family. The hamburgers, hot dogs, marshmallows, stories around the campfire. It's a powerful thing, and it's the beauty, majesty, mystery, the darkness of night, alongst the ocean, with the rumble, roar of the waves crashing. It's like all the elemental things of earth, air, fire, and water combined. I think it would be tragic to lose this. It's what makes it a place where people can be at nightfall. There's this thrumming thrill of acute aliveness you get there by the fire. Now, I've enjoyed these things as a child and thereafter as an adult. My parents experienced them before me, and I think it would be a pity if these wonders didn't continue to be known. These fire rings and the revels that go on around them, they're the things that people remember for a lifetime. I think it would be a terrible tragedy to lose these lovely rings of light and laughter and to see them gone forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing that, I'll bring it back.
Just a few comments then, Mayor
Yeah,
Gardner.
thank you, Dave.
to Ms. Leslie's comments, when we say we're working with Caltrans, we are really trying to figure out exactly what we can do in accordance with the adopted neighborhood revitalization plan, the improvement plan on Coast Highway, within Caltrans ownership rules. And that may mean indemnifying them for the landscape improvements we put in. And that's a precursor to deciding whether or not, as Councilmember Selich will note, whether or not we should go ahead and acquire that with very little, if any, revenue from Caltrans itself. And so we want to at least cross off a number of boxes on our task list to make sure we know and we can tell council what the options are. So that's literally what working with Caltrans means. Again, trying to find a way to put in those improvements while having Caltrans keep ownership. Just a few comments about the Seminole Slough, and I know I'm part of the problem here because a very short time ago, I think it hadn't bubbled up to me yet that the project was no longer $400,000. It was a $2 million project, and that's in part because some of the material down there has been tested to be not suitable for ocean disposal. So that balloons the cost, because not only do you have to find a different place to take it, including potentially trucking it inland, but find a place to have it dry out. And all those things really balloon the cost of that dredging. So while we had $400,000 identified, we hadn't identified $2 million, and that $400,000 didn't go away. What it does is if it's not spent at the end of the year, it goes into our fund balance, into our reserves. So it's not like it was spent on another project. As we look forward, we're very happy, as you are, that the Corps is going to do their half of the project. We were hopeful, and maybe we still can be hopeful, that we can do a project shortly after that. But, A, we need to identify the funding, and it needs to compete with other projects, including a lot of money that we're spending in the rest of the bay, again, a little ways away from the Rhine Channel to the lower bay, as well as get the permitting for that. So those are both challenging things. Remember, though, once the Corps does the project, it doesn't mean it's a bad time to do the project in a month or a year or 2 years later. The key for us was getting the Corps to take their muck out so we could then take our muck out. It didn't have to happen the next day, but it certainly should happen shortly thereafter. So again, I think the council will have this discussion going forward about what the priorities are for that funding. And I know Councilmember Rosansky and others really believe the Seminole Slough is an important thing to dredge. So we'll have that discussion going forward.
Thank you. Now we'll have oral reports from City Council on committee activities. Councilman Hill?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Rosansky?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
No report.
Councilwoman Daigle?
No reports.
Councilman Henn?
I have one report. There's a committee in the city called the Committee for Harbor Charges, consisting of Councilmember Rosansky, Councilmember Selich, and me. And we have been active looking at the proper level of charges in our harbor, especially focusing on rent for the use of public assets in our harbor. We looked at the rent that we charge for moorings a couple of years ago. Early last year, we looked at the rent that we charge for the Balboa Yacht Base and slips that the city owns. And now we're looking at the rent that we think should be charged for commercial piers, commercial marinas that use the tidelands that they build their docks over to rent their slips. And so we've been actively looking at this. We had an outreach meeting a month or so ago. We had another outreach meeting on April 5th, last Thursday. And the committee, along with City Manager Dave Kiff, presented some updated thinking on the part of the committee about how to go forward on these harbor charges in a fair and transparent way, recognizing that in all likelihood there will be significant increases in the rent for the use of the tidelands. And so we got a lot more public feedback at that second meeting, and we'll continue to think about it. We got feedback in relation to how an appraisal process might be organized, as well as concern about the fact that most of the operators of marinas in our harbor have spent private money to build things like seawalls and parking and to dredge the tidelands under their docks. So we need to take that into account, too, as we're looking at comparative jurisdictions and how they charge for these things. So we're going to continue the process. We're going to get an updated appraisal, and I hope that we will arrive at some conclusions that we can reach consensus with the public and with that community of residents that use the harbor so often. This has been a rather contentious issue. I expect that it will continue to be so to some extent, but I remain hopeful that we'll have an outcome that is viewed as fair and appropriate as we move forward. When we complete the issue of commercial marinas, there will be other classes of harbor users that we'll have to look at. And each class of harbor user will be, the charges associated with that class will be tailored to the specific facts and circumstances of that class of users. So we're doing our very best here to organize this process in the fair and consistent manner that our citizens, I think, expect us to. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Salich?
No reports.
And I have none. Motion for reconsideration? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.